So today I just posted the PDF for you guys to kind of look at in terms of the elbow, forearm, wrist positions, and to kind of assess yourself in terms of what position are you guys at, how much range of motion do you actually have within those joints, do you have enough actual joint mobility to get into the positions that you need. Usually joint mobility is not an issue with musicians. Musicians tend to be a little bit on the loosey-goosey side, but occasionally people will have had an old injury and that kind of thing that limits their mobility. So it's just always good to assess, and then also assess, like, as you go in and out of the actual range of motion that joint allows for, how does it feel? Does it feel tight anywhere? Does it pinch anywhere? Does it hurt anywhere? Those kinds of things. So I posted the PDF for your little assignment to do for that, and to kind of, first assess your motion and then kind of take your instrument and see what positions you're putting yourself in at your instrument. And the big ones to watch for are kind of with the wrist. Are you kind of tweaking it this way too much? Are you tweaking it this way too much? And are you kind of over pronating and bending it down? Because again, that puts a lot of pressure in through here, and that's where I see a lot of musicians have problems and symptoms, is in through here. The other spot that a lot of musicians have issues in is over here, and some of it is from doing this. Drummers, percussionists, a lot of times will do a lot of this. And then that can cause issues in through here. So those are the two main spots that people tend to get problems, but they also get really tight forearms, and I'm gonna kind of go over that today, because that has more to do with the fingers. So then there's pictures that I posted on there just so you're clear on what joint goes into what position, and that was Trevor being my model, very enthusiastically. So today I want to talk about the thumb and the fingers, because these are crucial, obviously. The thumb is a big one, and I had done a video before on all things thumb. So go back and find that. That's in, Natasha had done, put everything into units. So on the left-hand side of the group, you'll see units, and she organized everything to kind of talk about what was under what topic. So there's a whole video on thumbs in there, because I could talk about thumbs for forever. So does anybody have questions about last time? And you know what? It's not bringing up, I realized this last time, I think Spencer, you had commented and it didn't bring up your comment. So I'm just gonna open up the group on my computer so that I can see, and hopefully it will show me if anybody's commenting. And there it is, live. I think it's live, yes, but it's not doing anything. Okay, so we'll see, hopefully it'll show up. If it, for some reason, I don't see your comments for some reason, I will go back and answer them when I finish the live. But if you have comments about anything with the neck, or questions about anything with the neck or the shoulder or the elbow, the forearm, or the wrist, please comment them below. If you have issues or anything with positions that you're at, if you want to post a picture of yourself at your instrument, go ahead and do that too, because that's always fun. I love to look at people playing and assess technique and that kind of thing. So go ahead and please feel free to do that. So thumb today. Let's go to start with the thumb, because the thumb is tricky. The thumb is one of those joints that has a ton of mobility allowed in it. Kind of like the shoulder and the hip, even though it's not quote unquote a ball and socket joint, like the shoulder and the hip, but it allows for a lot of mobility. So it allows for this circumduction, right? We can go around in circles. Now we can go the other way, right? We can hitchhike, which I don't recommend, all right? And now when you hitchhike, I want you to look, this is thumb extension, technically. I want you to look and see how much this joint here extends backwards. So some people will be in this position, right? I'm a little bit hypermobile there, all right? And I think I did that to myself actually from my flute playing. And I actually had a patient not too long ago, and I can't even get into that position, but I measured him and he was at a 70-degree angle. So if this is 90, right, he was about here. That's how far back he could go. It was crazy. My friend Chelsea, who is a physical therapist. She also plays guitar. I think she's in this group. Is really loosey-goosey, and she's going to come on here. Actually, I'm going to do an interview with her because there are ligamentous laxity diagnoses out there that people have, and they can have them throughout their entire body, and they can just be in certain joints. So she actually deals with it in her entire body. So she works really, really hard to keep everything as stable as she possibly can. So we're going to get her on and kind of talk about things that she does to help her as well. So we'll do that after the challenge is over, so everything's not too confusing. But I want you to assess how much does your thumb go back when you go into thumb extension or the hitchhike position, okay? And how hard is it for you to keep in this position? Whoa, my lights just flickered. We've been having crazy weather here in Connecticut, so the wind. So for me, right, this is hard to keep my thumb straight. It's not natural for me. All right, if I just kind of relax my thumb, see how it goes back. All right, now if I hitchhike, then it goes back even further. If I actively try to extend, it goes back even further. But it's not easy for me to kind of, and my thumb actually shakes. All right, so this is thumb extension. So I just want you to assess how much mobility do you have with your thumb extension? How does it feel? What does this tip joint do? All right, can you get completely straight here, or does this hyperextend? And this can actually hyperextend in certain positions. So for me, when I do certain things and I pinch certain things, this joint, and you can sort of see it here, hyperextends. All right. So that's one of my other thumb issues. My poor thumb. But again, from playing, and I'm going to show you a picture of a flute player that did a picture of exactly what I used to do with my thumb. And I now have long-term issues from all this fun. So again, it's about being aware of what position you're at and seeing if you can get into a better position. All right, so kind of watch that. So you're gonna assess, how does this move? All right, and how does this move into extension? And then you're gonna assess, how does your circle feel? And then how does your circle feel this way? Okay. The other thing that the thumb does is it does this. Pulls out into an L, okay? So how far out can you go into that L, all right? And this position, most of the time people are in this position when they're at their instruments. More often than not, you're in this position, whether you're supporting your instrument, whether you're holding onto a mallet, whether you're fingering, that kind of thing. It's very rare that you're actually all the way out. More often than not, you're in too far on most instruments. The other motion that the thumb does, which is kind of similar, I'm going to see if I can find a good way to show it. So this goes into the L, but it also comes down into the C, which is a little bit different. So when you're going to grasp like a really wide glass, all right, that's one of those positions. So you bring your thumb into your index finger, and then you bring your thumb out and away from your index finger. So how does that feel? Okay, do you have any pain when you do any of that? All right. So those are the basic motions of the thumb. So I want you to take your body through them all and see how they feel. So this one is like you're gonna hold a big jar. It's called palmar abduction because you're bringing thumb away from the palm, all right? This one is called radial abduction because you're bringing your thumb towards your radius over here. That's your radius, all right? And then you have circumduction clockwise. How does it feel? How much motion do you have? And then you have circumduction the other direction. Oh, I forgot two motions actually. And then you have extension, okay, where you're actually extending from here, here, and here. I want you to check out how much hypermobility do you have, or not at all hypermobile, all right? The other motion that we have is flexion, okay? So we bend from here, and we bend from here. And then there's one more. The thumb does a lot, I'm telling you. It's a busy, busy, busy finger. Opposition. So it touches the tip, the tip, the tip, the tip, and then it goes all the way down. So I want you to take your thumb and touch the tip of your little finger and slide all the way down and see how far you can go. Can you reach the crease? See how there's creases in your hand? All these lovely creases. Can your thumb reach that crease? And how does it feel when you do? I'm just gonna refresh my page and see if anybody commented. No comments. Nobody's saying anything. Talk to me, guys. It's so lonely talking to myself. Ah. Okay, anyways, I'll stop with my crying and my whining. All right, so this flexion, all right, this is flexion and opposition. It kind of is a combination of both. Opposition is truly just this too, okay? So figure out what position that you're going into at your instrument. All right, so I'm going to show you a picture. I actually have this for my presentation for my class. If I can lift up my computer without it going wonky, so you can see. Okay, so look at this chick's thumb. All right, how do you think that feels? So I don't even know if you can get your thumb into that position, but she's sort of like coming under and then hyperextending. Okay. She may not notice anything initially, but over time, that's gonna be uncomfortable. That's gonna cause problems. All right. So check and see what position you're putting your thumb in. All right. And this is crucial for flutists. It's also crucial for clarinet, oboe, bassoon. What is your thumb? Where is your thumb? All right. Are you hyperextending your thumb as you're supporting the instrument? Okay. You want to really look at that. For guitar, violin, viola, cello, double bass, on your left thumb, you want to see what position that thumb is on the neck of your instrument. Okay. Those are really important. Okay. I have a lot of patients that have thumb problems because they end up either coming too far in or hyperextending in through here. Okay. Now with flute, if you just take your thumb and you bring it all the way across, I want you to sort of think about how that feels. It's work, right? Now if you just relax your thumb, where does your thumb fall? It falls just underneath your index finger. That's its natural resting state. That's where it's most comfortable, all right? Now, we can't always get into that position at our instrument, but if we can get pretty close, that's good. If you are a flute player and you have your thumb all the way underneath your middle finger, and that's how you're playing for 6 to 8 hours a day, eventually your thumb is gonna start screaming at you, right? So if you can even just move it underneath your trill key, right? Trill key's a little bit halfway in between, or even underneath your F key. All right. Now, if you're on your clarinet, I mean, that's your support thumb. I actually just had a patient who had an amazing thumb rest that was adjustable up and down. It was awesome. I'll have to get the name of it and I can post that in here, but it was great. It put his thumb in such a wonderful position because a lot of saxophone too, the thumb just goes into a really wonky position at times as you're trying to support the weight of the instrument. So it's important to try to keep a natural curve rather than go into kind of that hyperextension. So avoid this, poor lady. I feel bad for her. That was me. Hate to admit it, but that's just how it was. So the other thing with the thumb is that you have muscles that work your thumb down in your forearm, but then you also have some in through here. So a lot of people will get pain in their thumb muscle right in through here. So if you just sort of poke on there, is any of that painful? All right, I get a lot of thumb pain in here. Part of the reason I get a lot of thumb pain is because of my old flute habits. And I do a lot of manual therapy with my patients, so I'm kind of digging a lot. And I have an unstable joint. So sometimes I have to put myself into a splint to stabilize my joint. So I can do all those things and not spasm these muscles out. Because what happens is if we're too loosey-goosey, our muscles try to compensate to stabilize the joint, all right? Or if we're putting ourselves in a funky position and not a good mechanical position for that joint, everything else will try to compensate. And then you actually get wear and tear down on that joint, and you can get physical changes. So you want to avoid arthritis, right? So it's always best to be in as good of alignment everywhere in our body to avoid any kind of wear and tear on our joints for the long haul, right? So just kind of poke in here and see, do you have any pain, right? Does it hurt in there? The other spot that can get tender is right in between here. So kind of stick your finger in there and poke. Does that hurt? All right. If it hurts, it just means those muscles are kind of in spasm. They've been working really hard. All right, bow hand, and you're holding your bow. All right, that thumb's working really, really hard as well. So these muscles can get really tender, and there's a bunch of little tricks that you can do to help calm those spasms down as well. But first you want to make sure exactly what's going on and what the problem is. Watch also how you're writing, all right? You could have a lot, if you have a vice grip on your pen, that's a huge thing, all right? So it's not just your instrument. I want you to think about, for this one, I want you to think about how you are writing. Ooh, went too high, I cut off my head. And how tense are you when you're actually writing, when you're holding your pen? I don't have a pen right here. But just for reference, great joint protection technique is the thicker you use a pen, and not really, really thick, but the thicker your pen is and the softer it is so that it doesn't have, you're not slipping, the less fine motor control you're going to need to kind of pinch onto that thing. So a little bit wider is always good, and a little bit non-skid so you're not slippery, so you don't have to feel like you have to hold on for dear life. And then just relax and don't have that vice grip on your pen because that can irritate these muscles in through here as well. Okay, so I think that's all things thumb. Does anybody have questions on thumb? Not that I can see them for some reason. I wonder if there must be a button. I need Andy. Andy, are you watching? Andy always tells me how to work these crazy technology stuff. Bruce or Spencer, if you know, although I can't seem to see comments even on my computer, which I have here. All right, well, we'll have to see. Andy will message me later if he has an idea for that. I don't know why I can't see comments. Oh wait, there's a comment. Hold on. No, that's for me to write a comment. I don't want to write a comment. Okay, so now we're going to talk fingers. The thumb is one of the fingers, but the thumb is kind of an entity in and of itself. So these are your fingers: index, middle, ring, little. Okay. So in the therapy world, we number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that a lot of musicians will number them differently. So a lot of guitarists kind of number them differently. So if you ever see me as a patient and I talk about numbers, it's because I'm talking from the hand therapy world. So, but your fingers, okay, they do basically 4 different motions. All right. This joint here, right here, does flexion, extension. It also does abduction and adduction. Okay, so it does, I'm gonna do it. Let's see how good my perceptual skills are. So it does flexion, extension, right? Abduction and adduction. All right. So that's that one big joint here. These joints here only do flexion and extension. That's it. So if you were trying to tweak your finger so that it curves, right? It goes in this position or this position, it's not going to work, all right? Because your joint is not meant to go that way. I had one of my students in my class the other day go, oh, that's why I have pain. Because she was trying to take a joint and put it into a position that it's actually not meant to go. So that's why it's important to understand what positions do the joints actually go in. And are you asking them to go into positions that's really not natural for them? Because that can be causing them pain as well, okay? So fingers, I'm gonna go this way, all right? I'm gonna go over it again. So the knuckle, I call this is the knuckle, okay? So we do flexion. So take your fingers through flexion, extension, okay. Abduction. How far do they stretch? Most people can stretch pretty far as musicians. Who was it? It was Schumann. It was Schumann, I think, that wanted a wider spread on his piano when he was playing, right? And he sliced in between each of his web spaces so that you get more of a spread. Don't want to do that. Don't do that. That's the one thing I remember from my history teacher. I had Mariana Saltzman as my music history teacher at Purchase. She was hysterical. I remember, I'll never forget that story. Anyways, so abduction and adduction. All right. Then for the fingers, for this joint here and the tip joint here, we do flexion and extension. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. There's actually two tendons, one that goes to this middle joint and one that goes to the tip joint. All right, and they work together and they also work separately. All right, so take your instrument and put your hands at your instrument and see what position that they're going in. What I see a lot in most, so in this position, all right, the muscles that do that are actually in your hand. There are very few muscles that are actually in your hand, but they start like around here and then they'll end like right around here. So in your actual finger, it's only tendon and ligament, all right? And then obviously, you know, the nervous system and the venous and arterial system, but there's actually no muscle belly in your actual finger. It's only in through here, and there's very few. So the ones that are in here do this, and then they also do this and this. Now, the ones that extend your fingers all the way up and bend your fingers all the way down, those muscle bellies are actually in your forearm. So what happens a lot of time is that when people are playing, they are doing this lovely co-contraction, all right? Because they're tense, they're stressed, something's, you know, intense that they're playing. So what happens is that these flexor muscles on this side, because this side is your flexor muscles that make a fist, and this side is your extensor muscles that straighten you up, bring your wrist back, right? Flexors are over here, right? Extensors are over here. These guys will get tight and they'll co-contract. All right, and it's a tug of war between the two. So a lot of times patients will have so much tension in their hand as they're actually playing, becomes a tug of war, all right, that they're not really sure. The fingers are like, should I be going down? Should I be going up? Should I be going down? Should I be going up? And I think a lot of it is just our neurological planning, because we know that, okay, we have to depress the string or this key, but then we have to extend, we have to lift it up. So, and everything happens so quickly and so finitely that it then the muscles are like on overload. So you can get a lot of forearm tightness in through here. So it's really important to be making sure that these tissues in here are as relaxed as possible, all right? Because they start up in your elbow and then they come all the way down to wrist and then all the way down into the tips of your fingers on both sides. So how much tension do you have in your hands when you're playing on either side, okay? Are things as relaxed as they possibly can be? Or are they tense? Like, do you see the difference? Like I'm like trying to finger, I'm like, ah, or are they this way, nice and relaxed? Okay, so I want you to assess all of that and see. So check your motion that's available to each of those joints. See how it feels as you take yourself through those range of motions, just like you did with the other ones. And then I want you to take your instrument, hold your instrument, and see what positions you're in, and see how those positions actually feel. Check out your thumb, check out your wrist, check out your fingers. Are you spreading your fingers too much? A lot of times what I will see is people will take their little finger and they'll posture it so it'll pull out and extend, all right? The other area that people can get pain is right over and through here, this little muscle belly over here. So there's a few little muscles inside your hand, all right, that will work your little finger, and then those little muscles inside your hand that work your thumb, okay? So there's individual thumb muscles in your hand, individual little finger muscles in your hand, and then those other ones that do this and this and this. And that's it. That's all you got for muscle belly in your actual hand. The rest of it is actual tendon and ligament. So pain can be in these muscles, in this muscle back here, and then in this muscle over and through here, if you're posturing your little finger out to the side and kind of extending it, or you're trying to flex it and extend it at the same time. All right, so watch your little finger position, watch your thumb position. Are you really spreading your fingers out too much? How much tension is your hand in when you're actually playing, or is it just relaxed? Does it come out and does it come in? All right, so assess all of those. And then I will get my model to work for me again. I'm probably gonna have to pay him with another treatment session, but that's okay. He's cute, I'll keep him. And I'll post those up. It'll probably be tomorrow morning, because actually it'll be tomorrow afternoon because they have activities tonight. So if anybody has any questions, please comment below. I really want to hear from you guys, so that I can know what you guys are thinking, what you're feeling, all that fun stuff. If this is even beneficial for you guys, because I think it's amazing and I think it's really, really, really important, but maybe you guys think, I don't care. So if that's the case, I want to know, because I want to do what is best for you guys, and I want to share knowledge that's going to help you guys. I believe from a therapist standpoint, from a musician standpoint, and from a person who had an injury as a musician, that this is crucial, because again, like I have said before, if I had known all of these things back then and known how to analyze my posture and known what positions my body is supposed to go into and what positions are healthy, I could have avoided a lot of different things. So next week I'm going to talk about the trunk a little bit, and your basic posture, and then we're going to go over some basic happy positions for the joints and how to make them happier. So this is when I really want to hear from you guys in terms of what positions you tend to be in, so we can kind of see if there's a pattern of things that we can talk about. All right, so I hope everybody has an amazing weekend, and thank you for watching.